The clink of silverware echoed across the dining table as laughter filled the room. The smell of roasted chicken, fresh bread, and warm pie lingered in the air. Participation. It was one of those rare evenings when the whole family gathered together, a tradition I cherished deeply. But just as I lifted my fork, her words cut through the air like a knife. "You never contribute anything to this family," the laughter died. The room went silent. I froze, my fork slipping slightly from my hand. Across the table, my daughter-in-law stared directly at me, her lips pressed tightly after delivering those words, as if she had been holding them back for too long. My son, sitting right beside her, hid in his chair uncomfortably but didn't say a word. My heart thudded in my chest. A lump rose in my throat. I looked around the table at the grandchildren, at my son, Participation, at the daughter-in-law who had just humiliated me in front of everyone. My cheeks burned, but not with shame, with disbelief. Because she couldn't have been more wrong. I remembered every moment of my life that had been poured into this family. The countless nights I stayed awake when my son was little, participation, sewing his clothes by candlelight because I couldn't afford new ones. The mornings when I skipped breakfast so he could have a full lunchbox for school. The years of double shifts and aching bones just to keep food on the table and pay for his education. I raised him alone after his father walked out. Every scar on my hands, every wrinkle on my face, every ache in my body was a testimony to what I had contributed. And now I sat here being told I had done nothing. I opened my mouth to speak, participation, but my son quickly grabbed his glass of water and cleared his throat, trying to change the subject. My daughter-in-law, smug in her silence, had already turned back to cutting her food, participation, as if the matter was settled. The children, sensing the tension, looked nervously at their plates. The rest of dinner went on in a blur. I heard people talking, but I couldn't focus. Her words replayed in my head over and over again like a cruel echo. When dessert was served, I excused myself, claiming I was tired. I went to my room, closed the door quietly, and finally let the tears fall. For years I had been living in their house not because I was helpless, but because my son had insisted after my health began to decline. I had my small pension, and I contributed what I could, groceries, babysitting, chores, anything. But apparently none of it mattered. I was invisible. That night, I lay awake replaying my entire life. Was this truly how my years of sacrifice ended? Was this the legacy I was leaving, a burden no one appreciated? The next morning, I made a decision. I quietly packed a small bag, left a note on the kitchen counter thanking them for their hospitality, and left the house. My heart ached, but I knew I had to reclaim my dignity. I went back to the little house I still owned in the old neighborhood. It was dusty, neglected, and small, but it was mine. Slowly, I cleaned it up, repaired what I could, and turned it into a warm space again. At first, the silence was heavy, but then it became comforting. For the first time in years, I felt free, not judged, not invisible, just me. Participation. Days turned into weeks. I started gardening again, something I hadn't done in years. I reconnected with old friends who welcomed me with open arms. I volunteered at the community center, tutoring children after school. For the first time in a long while, I felt useful, appreciated, and seen. Meanwhile, my absence at my son's home was felt more than they expected. The laundry piled up, the kids missed me at school pickup, and the little things I used to do without anyone noticing suddenly became obvious. One evening, I received a call. It was my son. His voice trembled as he said, "Mom, we didn't realize how much you do. The kids miss you. I miss you. Please come home." I listened quietly. For the first time, he sounded like the little boy I once raised, vulnerable and in need. "I will visit," I said gently, "but home is where I'm respected. I will not go back to being invisible." There was silence on the other end, and then soft sobs. He apologized not just for himself, participation, but for the silence he kept the night his wife attacked me with her words. He admitted he had failed to defend me and that it would haunt him forever. Weeks later, I finally agreed to visit. When I walked into their home, my daughter-in-law approached me. Her eyes were red, her voice shaky. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I spoke out of anger. Participation. "I see now that you are the heart of this family. We never should have taken you for granted." For a moment, I wanted to stay silent, to let her feel the weight of what she had done. Patient. But then I remembered the message I wanted to live by. Family is not about keeping score. It's about love, forgiveness, and respect. I forgave her not for her sake, but for my own peace. But I made one thing clear: respect is not optional. If I am part of this family, then I must be treated as such. From that day on, things changed. Participation. Not overnight, but little by little. My son made an effort to include me, the children showered me with hugs, and even my daughter-in-law, humbled by the lesson, softened with time. I had reclaimed my voice, and I realized something powerful. Sometimes, you must walk away from the table where you are no longer valued to remind people of your worth. When you return, participation, you don't return as invisible, you return as irreplaceable. Message: never let anyone make you feel worthless. Your sacrifices, your love, your quiet contributions, they matter. even if unspoken. Sometimes people don't realize your value until your absence teaches them the truth.